Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and I've got one tremendous broadcast for you today. Superstars from Omnia Behavioral Assessments, my friend, CEO, COO, President Heather Snyder. Hi, kid.
Mouthful.
How you doing?
I'm great, Jim. Thanks for having us again. We appreciate it.
And from Customer Success, Tanya Devane. Hi, Tanya.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, like Heather said, thanks for having us. We enjoy these conversations.
Well, unemployment is up in the United States. We should be hiring more people, but in the automobile industry, turnover is a big problem. And I surmise we're not screening the people thoroughly enough. We're putting square pegs in round holes, and they bail out on us. What are we experiencing, Heather?
Oh, it's exactly right, Jim. I mean, the most important and hiring is one of the most stressful things we do as leaders, right? It is one of the major decisions you make. And if you get it wrong, it costs you your dealership money, it costs your people, it causes anxiousness, stress. And I think what we're getting wrong is not really making sure they fit. Are they wired to do the job that they're going to have to do day in and day out? If they're not
And the
wired to
other
do it,
problem, the other problem is we're promoting the wrong people.
yes, we always want to promote that sales superstar to be a leader or move that great, fabulous customer service or parts person into a sales role. And again, if they're not wired to do it, if they're not motivated by the traits that are needed for those kinds of jobs, they're not going to succeed and they're going to create a wave of a mess behind them.
Your master tech is not always the best director of the department.
Right, right.
Tanya,
Right.
what's your thoughts?
Yeah, they are good at turning a wrench, but maybe not turning employees into super employees. So sometimes when we try to promote or when we do promote, we, like Heather mentioned, you're looking at the best person that's in that current role. And maybe they're doing so great in that current role because that is their natural fit. That's what they're good at. But now when you're thinking about adding more responsibility, you need to look at this person slightly different and see what if they have that other innate natural ability. Because when you're talking about bringing someone in a leadership role, they need to have that assertiveness, that ability to feel comfortable holding people accountable and okay with, and don't get me wrong, no one likes having hard conversations with their employees. Nobody wants to be the one that has to give the critique, but in a leadership role, you have to do that. So you want
You're
to make
not you're not you're not suited for this position. How do
right.
you tell somebody that?
Right.
Right, right. So you want to kind of know that up front before promoting, for sure, because that's going to save you a lot of headache. Because as you being their manager or their leader, you're going to have to now work harder and step in. It's like I promoted you, but now I'm still doing the job that you were supposed to be doing because I have to step in and be the heavy hand. And that's why I have you, so I don't have to be the heavy hand with this. I have five other things I'm dealing with.
Well, Heather, do we have any solutions for these problems?
We sure do. So the Omnia Group's been helping automotive dealers solve this problem since 1985. And you can do it with data and science. So
Since 1985, I got involved with you guys about 1991,
yeah,
pretty early on.
yeah.
And I just stumbled on Omnia Behavioral Assessments. I was working with Lewis Ford in Memphis, Tennessee,
Wow.
and they were using your processes.
Yep.
And you guys tested me, and I ran right off the top of the charts in the who would have guessed? Assertive, amiable, affable, combination. And I started looking at it, and I started working with you guys a little bit, and I found out you had every position in the automobile industry. You've got a solution. Tell me about that.
We do. So again, using data and science, we can measure those key traits. We measure as Tanya said, level of assertiveness, sociability, what's your communication style? How do you like to solve problems? Are you a we versus a me person? Are you a multitasker, fast paced, or are you methodical, routine oriented? And do you need structure and rules and processes and procedures, or are you more big picture? 80% is better than not done, and resilient and able to take no for an answer. And we match all those.
I always pictured myself as Burt Reynolds and Smokey and the Bandit.
There you go. Pedal to the metal and
Yeah.
get
But
there.
you know, the other part of that is that I came out of the variable operation, the sales department.
Mm-hmm.
And a great desk manager is not the general sales manager profile. That's an executive position as opposed to a supervisory position.
Absolutely. Are you doing the work or are you inspiring the work? And those are two very different traits.
Right.
Are you putting it out yourself or are you leading a team of people with all those different personalities? If you think about the general manager, they got to manage the whole business. So they've got to be able to lead and inspire a multitude of personality traits and understand what are the different motivators for each of those traits. So we help with all of that. We have benchmarked every single role in a dealership, from the general manager to the BDC to the body shop
Wait a
manager.
minute, BDC, that wasn't around in 1985 for sure.
I don't think BDCs were around back then. So
Right.
we say
That's what I'm
we
saying.
evolve as the industry evolves.
I like to say
You've
we go from
evolved.
the porter up to the general manager. So it's what if you're the lot attendant all the way up to, you know, managing everything, managing multiple dealerships. And we all know, like, fixed operations, like that's where you can make your money. So you want to make sure you have the right people on those types of desks as well when you're looking at the fixed operations of
I am amazed. You know, you're in a peripheral industry, but you know the car business. Both of you are talking about specifics. A lot of the companies that have behavioral assessments, you've got competitors, but guess what? They don't specifically tailor to the positions in a car dealership. We're different.
We are. I like to say we're true to this. We're not new to this. So we understand automotive.
Say that again. Say that
Understand
again. I like it. Say it again.
We are true to this, not new to this. When we're talking about automotive, we have what you're looking for in dealerships. We know what success looks like.
I just wrote that down, by the way.
Me too.
It's not copywritten. Have it.
It is now, Tanya. Tanya Devane says.
Okay, so we are hiring somebody, and I'm going to tell you right now, we shoot from the hip. We don't even check the references half the time. And when you've got an HR department, they might be checking the wrong references.
Mm-hmm.
We've got applicants who are professional interviewers.
Yes.
And you wonder, did they send their twin? Who is this person that showed up?
Yeah.
Pretty scary.
Yeah, that 90-day shocker that will happen where I thought this person was going to hit the ground running and was going to be my next star performer. And like you said, Jim, it's like their evil twin showed up. And that's why, you know, Heather mentions data and science. With ChatGPT, with all the AIs that are out there, I can say right now, how do I ace a sales interview? What type of behavioral based questions should I be prepared to answer, and give me some answers for those? What AI can't do is tell them what adjectives to select, you know, because
so in other words, they could study up for the interview.
Right.
They can prepare for it. There is Google, there is Chat AI, there's all sorts of ways to find out how to get around the interview questions. I could probably fool you guys, right?
Not after you took our assessment. I mean, I'm not saying everything is 100% foolproof. So I don't want to say, you know, like of course, there's no assessment out there that's 100% foolproof. But the more data that you have, the more science you have when you're hiring someone, and all these things are validating each other. So I see it here, I see it there, I see it here, I see it there. Now you're going into that hiring decision with your eyes wide open.
With
That's the one thing that I like.
data-backed resource, OMNIA behavioral assessments.
Yes.
So in other words, when you have enough profiles on what makes this position successful, you know exactly what traits. Well, wait a minute. A dealer says to you, hey, I'm going to go to Kether for a second. Hey, Kether, our dealership is different. We don't operate like every other dealership. We want you to customize some assessments for us. Talk to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we do that. We can look at your top performers, or we could even say, your worst hire and what were the traits of the worst hire. And we can build a custom benchmark that will line you up with what you want and help you avoid what you don't.
Well, that's how we got involved in the first place, because Larry Lewis at Lewis Ford said, I want you to profile Jim Ziegler.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where we got started with our relationship that's going on 1991. My math's not even good on this. How many years is that?
More than 30 years, Jim.
More than 30 years I have been involved with you guys, and some of my best dealers would not hire or promote an employee without a current behavioral assessment. Does behavior change over a period of time?
Not unless there is a major traumatic event in a person's life. That's the most time you're going to see it shift. You may find that some of your traits that are more distinct or relevant, evident, will get stronger. And also, if over time you've had to develop skills and aptitude to do things that maybe you don't love, you can find a shift there. But directionally, your behavior is your behavior. It's how you're wired. It's who you are at a very young age. And it continues to get stronger as you're in situations and have experiences to leverage those traits.
Well, I personally set national records in finance. I was an incredible finance manager. I was the best there ever was, best there ever will be. One of those situations. But I didn't do my own paperwork. I was terrible.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Well, did anyone ever tell you that you needed to? Did they try to force you to do it? And I bet you were miserable. They were probably not very good at it.
Oh.
A lot of mistakes.
I married an accountant, for heaven's sake.
Perfect.
I can make money, but I can't count it or manage it.
Yeah. So there again, when you're talking about retention, as we started out the conversation, if you've got somebody who's a rock star and just blowing away the records and the numbers, let them do what they're good at and get them help for what they're not. Because you're likely
to identify that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you could see on my profile that you definitely want someone running behind me, checking my numbers, making sure the sentence was clear, that I completed the thought, all of those kinds of things. And there are people who excel at that and love doing that kind of work. So put those people in the job of accountant, bookkeeper, all of that, proofing, editing, all those.
39 years ago, when I was dating my wife, she was horrified that I didn't keep a balance in my checkbook. Oh, I got enough money.
Close enough is good enough, huh, Jim?
Tell me why they need your services, Tanya.
Because not only does it help with the hiring piece, which is a major piece, so you can go into it with your eyes wide open, knowing what you have and where you may have to focus your mentor training and onboarding time. Just think about some of the hires that you've made, and if you would have just known XYZ, that this person needs a more structured type of sales process, or this person needs, me just to kind of give them the big picture and let them go, get there the best way that they can. If you had those little insider tidbits of information, that's how you can make a star performer a star performer. Not only on that hiring side, but also looking at the team that you have now. Where are there some holes? Where is there some, we can bring someone on to fill some of those holes. So you're building not only a great star performer, you're building a dynamic team that can get you where you need to go and put numbers on the board for you on all parts of the operation.
But you know, they got to spend a lot of money with you guys. I mean, to get started.
Hmm.
You know,
Nope.
if I want to get started with you guys, you know,
No.
Yeah.
Um, it's pennies on the dollar when you think about how much it costs you when you go the wrong direction. But I mean,
look
if
at the
you're looking at
screen.
one, if you do one, you can get one for $90, and that's the most expensive you would spend. I mean, you go all the way down to $20, $20 an assessment, which is nothing when you think about how much this person is going to bring in if you get the right
That's
fit.
not even a blackjack chip.
Right, right. Think about it's just a week's worth of Starbucks, and I guess that's if you get the cheapest Starbucks there is every day, and not with the lattes and the extra whipped cream.
Practically a gallon of gas.
Right, there you
But
go.
wait a second. I have arranged with the powers that be, uh, Heather. I have arranged with the powers that be to give these people a free test drive, and I want to put it out early in the broadcast.
Yeah.
So if they tune us out, they already saw this. Explain that to me, Heather.
Yes. So we encourage each of you to try it for yourself. Learn a little bit more about yourself, build some self awareness. So this offer allows you to take our assessment. You'll get a chance to see how easy it is, how fast it goes, and wow, the power of the information you're going to
How
get.
accurate it is.
Every time we debrief, the person usually says, wow, you nailed it. I don't know how you did it that fast and got me so dead on, as you said, Jim. So
And
this is your offer to try it for yourself and build that awareness of your own unique traits and see how it works.
The first time I took this assessment, I thought you were talking to my wife. You know, where did that come from? Because you guys nailed me. That's what impressed me when I got involved with you originally.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We're really proud of that. I mean, it's a validated assessment. It just got validated again a year ago. We constantly look to make sure it's fresh, that it uses current terminology, that we put in interview questions in each of the selection reports, and we make sure those are modern for the current world. You know, is it remote? Is it hybrid? What's the person used to doing? So you can, make sure that those questions are going to be current for your situation as well. So
I've left that on the screen for the time being, so people that are slow writers, if you're watching a replay, you can pause it and copy that link. That link will get you a free assessment where they can see and what I recommend. What I recommend to my dealers is get somebody that is a super performer or a low performer. Is that good for one or two?
this is good for one. Yeah.
One. Okay, I want to be sure. So take a high performer or a low performer, whichever way you want to assess it, and somebody who you know their character traits, and take the no charge assessment and see how accurately it shows you, because predictability is a funny thing, because once I know somebody, they're predictable. But when you have a stranger or somebody that unknown to the position, hasn't tried it, like I said, good desk manager is not necessarily a good general sales manager.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Or a general manager coming out of the parts department, coming out of the service department. 97% or more, I just made that number up, but 97% or more of your general managers came out of fixed operations.
Mm-hmm.
So how much fixed operations profiles do you have?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know we
Make
have.
up a number. I just did.
Right. I know we have quite a few. I will say this, of the dealerships that we work with, there hasn't been one position that they've come and said, do you have this? And we have to say, no, we're going to have to, build it custom because we don't have it in our database. And I've been here for 15 years and I haven't had one dealership where we didn't have that position that they were looking for.
Fantastic. Now, if you're not going to do it on the link that I've got on the screen, you can call another team member that's not with us right now, Naomi Viglas. Now, there's Naomi's phone number scrolling across the bottom. She's not with us today. I think she got some things she's doing, but on most days, there's the number. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you can call Naomi and she'll set you up with an assessment.
Yes.
And it's so amazing. I know when I read mine, and I know, Heather, you probably had the same feeling when you read your report. It gets you dead to rights. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly. When you look at it, it's like, yeah, that's me. Even
Well,
though
there was some ugly.
right, right, there is. I mean, my mom thinks I'm perfect, but I'm really am not. So I have flaws. And so the Omnia picked that up. The other thing that when I first read my Omnia, which, that was a while ago. And so I wasn't as familiar with it as I am now. And I thought was a great piece. They picked up that I was going through a transition. I was leaving retail management, coming over into an office setting, which I'd never done. And the Omnia picked that up. It talked about how I may be switching careers, or I may be switching industries.
You came out of retail.
Right. And so for them to pick that up, and it was amazing to me. It's like, as soon as I read mine, I was sold, and 15 years later, I'm still here and believe the product 100%.
Yeah. My big aha.
Excuse my sniffles. I'm on a little bit of new medication. So no.
That's okay. I was just going to share my big aha. Some of the magic behind the assessment is that when I took it, it said I had a tendency to overthink big decisions, and I do. It's just who I am, especially big ones that are going to affect people, dollars, investments, things like that. And everyone who works with me knows it. They have permission to push me to say, Heather, it's time to land the plane, move this along. This is your decision. Go with it. And that's just another gift of this assessment, is it gives us permission to be who we really are and to be open with our colleagues and get the help where we need it.
When I taught Dale Carnegie courses 45 years ago. Oh, I hate it. Yeah, I got underwear older than you. But when I taught Dale Carnegie courses 45 years ago, we were using the old, from the 1920s, DISC assessments.
Mhm.
Remember those? And that was the first time I got tuned into the idea that different people have different aptitudes.
Right.
And it went on to, you are the most modernization I have seen in this industry.
Yeah.
What do we need to tell people about Omnia right now that we haven't touched in this interview? Tanya?
The part that we haven't talked about, I want to say, is the perspective that we also measure, because with a lot of positions in the dealership are client facing, so they are dealing with customers, clientele. You want to make sure that they are not embarrassing themselves or the brand. Perspective measures maturity, judgment, and common sense. So I want to make sure someone that I'm bringing on, when they're out on the lot, they're not saying something that, again, would embarrass me, embarrass them, or embarrass our industry, our organization. So that's a piece that we measure, that sometimes people can fool you, again, in an interview, but it's really hard to fool the assessment, because you're just selecting adjectives that naturally you're attracted to when you are going through the assessment. So that's one piece. And the other piece is, don't just utilize this as the hiring tool and kind of shove it in the drawer that you're checking a box. Like Heather said, you use this assessment for more than just that one piece, because we don't change over time. So when you hired me today, I'm the same person 10 years from now. But how should you approach me? How should you communicate with me? How much direction should you give me? When you're going to get ready to do a review, pull out the assessment. Let's talk about, kind of where they are.
Does it give suggestions?
Yes. Yes, we have action plans and we have interview questions.
Wait, okay. Oh, well, I didn't even know that.
Thanks, Jim, because that is such, I get this question a lot. Tanya, can you send me some more interview questions? The interview questions that are on our assessment are based on the position that you're hiring for. and based on their graph. So we're going to bring out some of their strengths, but we're also going to bring out some of those challenges, because that's where the rubber meets the road. And you're not going to get the professional interviewee that did a chat GPT in regards to how to answer this question. These questions will kind of uncover a lot of that.
I learn something new every time we speak. I didn't realize that you actually had to how to deal with these people,
Mm-hmm.
how to supervise these people, how to basically talk to them.
Absolutely.
Yes. As Tanya said, it
Expand
also
on that,
depends on how to motivate or demotivate this individual. So that's why you don't want to put it in a drawer. You may find you did hire somebody, they were doing great, and then 6 months later, something just seems a little off. Pull that report out, look at their motivators, demotivators. Maybe there's something that's changed in the environment that all of a sudden isn't working for this individual.
Right. I always say
when I worked for WAPE radio in Jacksonville, before I got in the automobile industry, I was a DJ. And that was a big, that was a huge radio station, one of the top 5 in the country. And I went to the owner. I said, "Look, I want to be a salesperson. The salespeople have the prestigious jobs." He said, "Jim, all our people have educations. All of our people, you're a little rough, Jim." I said, "I can do this job." And finally, I managed to get the position. And he said, "Well, we'll let you do it, but you can't call on any accounts that we've ever called on in the past." I set records in that industry before I got in this industry. I outran everybody on the sales force. But had we had an assessment at that time, how much more accurate could they have been?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think about how much money they lost by keeping you on a desk that you were doing well there, but they could have made a lot more money a lot quicker if they would have had the right person in the right seat doing the right job. And that's what OMNIA is going to offer you. I mean, that's the information you're going to get. And when we talk about the demotivators and motivators, I'm not a negative Nancy, but I do go to on my report. Oh, I see those eyes, Kevin.
Oh, golly. I wasn't going to say anything.
I try not to be a negative Nancy, but I do. When I go to a report, the first thing I go to are the back pages that has the demotivators, because I want to know why this person is not going to be happy in this type of role, and see, are they going to be dealing with that day in and day out. If I'm hiring, let's say, if I'm hiring an office where our parts counter, and they don't like pulling the inventory from the back, or checking numbers, that can be a problem for me. Or I also go to their challenges, because now that's going to be a problem for me in regards to their hiring manager. These are the areas that I'm going to have to help them with. So I want to go into that hiring with my eyes wide open, knowing that this person needs a lot of structure, a lot of detail. So I can think, do I have the time to do that? Are they bringing other things to the table that will make up for that? And then I go to the motivators and the motivators and the strengths. But I start there because I don't want to bring somebody on that's going to be more work for me when you're supposed to be taking some work off of me.
Yeah.
I put Heather in the top screen so you can see her rolling her eyes.
No, it's because.
Oh, golly. Okay, we've got a little screen freeze here for a second. Let's see what's going on. All right. What did you guys do?
I think it was that eye roll.
Right. You rolled us right off attack.
Whatever happened, there was a blip in the internet on one of us.
Right. Heather kind of pointed to it earlier when she told on herself about how sometimes you have to push. And so that's why so that's where the eye roll was like, don't be a negative, that I'm not a negative Nancy, because sometimes I'm the pusher of, all right, let's make this decision and move on. But
And I value that.
right. And because we understand each other's patterns. So we all know that everything is coming from a good place. I always say, if you bring people on where everyone has the same goal of, the mission, vision of the organization. So if you start out there with that respect, so you've already created a nice starting point. And then when each person understands each other's strengths, then we can respect that. Like, I run the customer success team. My team, they are the most detail-oriented people on the planet. Haven't met any people that are more detail-oriented than they are. And I respect that and value that, because that's not my strong suit. So when there is more detailed type of things, or somebody that I want to take a second look at, I'm going to send it to them. And so now we're all working in the way that we like to work. They like being able to proof edit and make sure everything is right. And I am able to kind of have more of the bigger vision for that department. And that's how you make that dynamic and successful team work with you and work with each other.
Well, I'm not personally very good at analytics. Who would have guessed? I always say, what are the first four letters of analytics?
Right.
And there are some people who are known for excelling at that again.
Right.
Of course, what most of my dealers use Omnia behavioral assessments is hiring salespeople. Overwhelmingly, I would bet your business coming out of car dealerships is overwhelmingly weighted toward hiring salespeople.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, Kevin.
Yes. So we have multiple, again, types of salespeople. So the key is understanding what is their sales role. Are they going to have to be doing a lot of internet research and doing outreach using digital? Those are some different traits than the person who's in the lot, greeting the person right there at the lot and having that live conversation. So we do look first at what are the responsibilities, objectives, and success factors for this role, and then match the trait with that job they're going to be doing every day. We have 17 different personality types when it comes to sales.
Right. Right.
Yep. 17. Yep. So, and that they can vary because the roles all vary in today's sales environment, from, like I said, digital, phone, internet sales, to that first, still doing face-to-face or upselling
a lot of dealerships
parts department.
And then it goes, another area, if your dealership is subprime, if you're dealing with luxury vehicles, that's also a different type of, if you're selling to customers that are credit challenged.
Your high line dealerships,
right?
Your subprime dealerships, wide variance between those positions.
It's a different sales style that goes with those.
I knew that, but I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah.
And so how many different types of profiles do you? You're blowing my mind again. So we're talking to Omnia Behavioral Assessments. We got Tanya Devane, Customer Success, and we have Heather Snyder, who is the COO and President of the company. And if you want to make the right decisions when you are hiring, firing, training, promoting, all of these, and coaching and supervising your salespeople and your techs, any position in the car dealership, I highly recommend these services. Tell me what we haven't talked about, Heather.
There's one other thing, and again, it goes back to the way you started this conversation about retention and turnover. And when you're looking, we've got 155 active automotive clients right now. So a good bit. And over the years, we've worked with hundreds. We know that you're hiring for multiple roles. And one of the things that will also help you with is determine best fit. So we know how this works. You got uncles and aunts and sister-in-laws who are recommending you hire their niece or their nephew, right? So when that happens, you can look at the individual, have them take the Omnia assessment, and we'll tell you what role in your dealership they best fit with. And we haven't talked about that either yet. Because again, you might have a really great person that fits in the culture, like Tanya said, understands, wants to be in the automotive business, help them figure out where they're going to fit the best.
Well, the elephant in the room is that the dealer's sons and daughters. You know, we got to fit them in the organization somewhere, because they are basically going to inherit the company.
Part of the family. Yep.
Exactly. And that is a challenge oftentimes as a consultant. I teach a class at Northwood University, and I teach a class on automotive management, and I deal with a lot of the young people that are going to be the future of our business. And I recommend to all of them that they get involved with you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Tell me what we haven't talked about, Tanya Devane.
Well, we touched on it a little bit about salespeople, and you are correct, Jim. A lot of dealerships are running against the sales profile. And what the Omnia will let you know or give you a peek into, is this somebody that's truly a salesperson? Or is this someone, like I like to call our faux salespeople? And they can fool us in the interview because they're great at building relationships and rapport. So you have that instant connecting that's happening. But what happens when you bring that person on, and why they didn't succeed the way you thought they were going to, is because they are a professional friend maker and not a deal closer. So you may see them with all the activity that they should have, but for some reason that activity isn't turning over into deals, or when they are making deals, it seems like, I could have made more money on that car. Like, this person really started low at the beginning, so we had nowhere to go. Understanding that is what the Omnia can help you with, because one of those sales styles Heather was talking about is what we call a networker, and that's exactly what they are. They're great at networking, but they're not great at bringing, I like to say, taking the ball over the finish line. They just keep running, but they're never getting to where they need to go. So knowing that ahead of time would be, extremely helpful, so you don't waste your time. Or if you do decide to bring them on, because believe me, there are some people that may have this networker quality, right? So they're great with making connections. I like to call them, they're the connectors. And so maybe I do bring this person on because of the connections that they have. Even if they don't close business, I have other people that can close the business with the connections that they bring to the dealership.
Well, there are also people, I would assume, that are great connectors, but also have other skills and don't necessarily lack those other skills.
Right. If we all have, I like to say, we all have all of these skills in us, right? Everything that we measure, assertiveness, communication style, pace, structure, we all have everything. But what the Omnia is telling you is what their most dominant trait. So think about, I remember when my father was teaching me how to drive, and when I was 14 in the backwoods.
Do you have any patience?
And it was a manual transmission, and it is so.
Did he have any patience?
Yes, it is so hard to get out of first. But when you're in fourth and just having to go down to third is easier. Think about this when you're bringing someone on. If they naturally have the column 1 to sell, then you don't have to be the external force and say, okay, you're going to put some numbers on the board today. Are you going to email some people came out yesterday, you're going to give them a call, you're going to follow up with them. You don't have to be that external force pushing them, because yes, can somebody raise their assertiveness level? Sure, we all can. Because you think about the most meek person that you know, and if somebody messed with the loved one, their pet, their dog, their cat, they wouldn't just sit there and be like, well, Omnia said I'm not assertive, so yep, go ahead and steal my dog. No, they're going to raise up and say, hey, give me back my dog. But do you want to be the external force that makes them raise up? No. But the Omnia is going to tell you if they are naturally inclined to move in the direction that you want them to go. And if somebody's naturally inclined and have that natural foundation, it's going to be a lot easier for you to manage them and lead them, because you're not being the external force that's stealing somebody's dog. You are, they're already just naturally set up for success, and you just have to kind of manage that and lead that and kind of engage that.
For a no-charge assessment with Omnia, either click the link on the screen right now. Take your time. If you're on a replay, you can actually pause it and write it down. Or you can call Naomi Viglas at the number scrolling across the bottom, and she'll arrange that for you. So we've already come up with a whole lot of things that I hadn't even thought of when we started the interview. Heather, what have we omitted so far?
I think we have covered most of the topics for sure. I think I would just summarize and use data and use science. And again, you got to get through the imposters, the actors, the ones that know how to use all the tools to fool you and make sure you're getting to their true authentic self. Use the assessment as the core, because it will give you everything you need to do the behavioral interviewing, and to, as Tanya said earlier, align and make sure that you're seeing that same person all the way through. And don't overlook those reference checks either, because those reference checks will validate whether or not everything you've seen in the interviews and what this person said they could do, and even their traits.
Explain that again. Explain that a little more depth. I missed something there.
The reference checks? Yeah, well, you had just mentioned that sometimes we overlook. We're in a hurry. We just want a body. And I think that's
desperation hiring.
Desperation hiring. And don't just go with what they give you. But now we have the power of social media and the ability to see who these candidates are connected with. Pick up the phone and call their former employer. Call their anybody you're connected with that you see they're connected with. Don't
call the receptionist at the previous dealership.
Yes,
they have a live receptionist. She knows he knows all the dirt.
Yep. Go back again to the phrase. So if a person measured out as highly assertive, as we said, every strength has a challenge. Where is that assertiveness played off maybe negatively or caused problems? Ask their former boss, what was the biggest barrier to giving this person feedback? Or how can I best support them in their success? What advice would you give me? So use the data, ask the right questions all the way through of the candidate, but also don't overlook.
Because a lot of people in the references are not eligible for rehire. What does that say?
Right.
I mean, they won't make any comment whatsoever.
Right.
And we had a high producer who was a troublemaker.
Right. And that can happen. They ruffle a lot of feathers sometimes with that assertiveness.
Yep.
As an upper manager in dealerships, I terminated a lot of people Jim, that was one of your top producers. He affected or she affected the entire force.
Yeah, they can be very toxic.
Right. Sometimes silences and pauses when you're doing reference checks, they are speaking volumes. So sometimes if you just call and you can kind of hear what's happening, what's not being said, you can kind of get a clue if you're about to hire their problem child that they let go.
Exactly. Well, so will the assessments sort of indicate that that's a possibility?
Yes. Hone in, like Tanya said, on those challenges. What demotivates this person? What are they going to be challenged by in each of the roles?
Socially correct challenges.
We don't like to say weaknesses.
Right. And we measure
their feelings. Today they're so sensitive. We got to give them a little blanket fort in the middle of the showroom and get puppy therapy.
Right. Everybody gets a participation ribbon.
Oh my gosh. I think we've about covered everything that is pertinent. Omnia behavioral assessments. Friends of mine, I highly recommend their service. Call Naomi Viglas. The number's on the screen. She's not with us today, but any other day. Or here's the link. There's the link. Or click on the link and a free, no charge behavioral assessment with a detailed report about whichever person that you elect to take the test.
And a personalized debrief with one of our experts to help you walk through that.
Wait a minute.
I know, we didn't talk about that either.
You didn't talk about that. Let's go. Okay, we're not ending the broadcast yet. Okay, tell me about the personalized debrief.
Well, this is one of the other things that I think really differentiates Omnia is we use real people on the phones, on the other end of the computer with you throughout your journey with Omnia. So the very first time you run a report, we're going to call you. We're going to talk you through how to interpret that report.
It's AI, right? It's not a real person.
It is a real person. It's Tanya, one of her team members, an expert who's been working with clients for multiple years. Our average tenure is 13 years at Omnia. So
they're calling from the Philippines or India?
Nope. These are people based in the US, English as their first language, helping you through it. And that happens all the way through, like I said, with your journey, your first hire, your first profile. Maybe you haven't used the report in a while. We'll call you up and say, hey, Jim, we noticed you hired for the first time. Maybe it's been 6 months. Let's talk through your candidate. We'll also help you write job descriptions, job advertisements.
Holy cow, wait a second. Now, see, you didn't get that in broadcast earlier.
I know, it's full end service.
Rewind a second. My gosh, we're going to help you do what?
We will help you write the job ad. We'll look at your description to see if something's not right, you're getting that retention.
If it's geared toward the type of applicant you want to attract.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And then we'll also provide free training for all of your hiring managers that are doing the interviews and doing the hiring and the coaching and the development. So
you didn't even tell them that earlier.
Well, we were so focused on the data. I overlooked that stellar service.
Nancy, why didn't you come up with that?
I know I should have. Yeah, I mean, I do, like Heather said, I do feel our service sets us apart, which I know dealerships, you're all about service. You want customers to feel well informed that, that they are comfortable and happy with their purchase. And that's exactly how we feel here. That's why we're offering that free test drive so you can take the assessment because, I'm preaching to the choir. How when a client gets behind the wheel, how different that is selling than if I just go out there and show you, yes, it has the V6 engine.
I have a picture of the car here.
Right. There's nothing like actually going in there, seeing the results when they come back and things like that. And so that's why we give you that free assessment to complete. And then while the report is user-friendly, very readable, it's nice to have someone on the other end that you can kind of pick up the phone and say,
hey, debriefing interview. That is incredible.
Right. Like, they interviewed this way.
That's a lot of value. That's a lot of value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, having me or having one of my colleagues talk about, well, yeah, you said they interviewed this way, but this is what we're seeing. This is why this may have happened. So it just goes deeper and gives you a better picture.
Fantastic. Well, my gosh, so much information. It was only 50 minutes, but we covered everything. Didn't we, Heather? Now, any surprises? Anything I haven't?
I don't think now. I think now that we talked about everything that comes with it, and that we're here to help you along your whole journey is really key. And we don't.
Got negative Nancy over here didn't even come up with any of that.
I was trying to leave them wanting more. So
wave goodbye to the audience, please.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.